in the economics under the auspices of Amity University. Today, ASE offers both undergraduate and postgraduate programs, combining all of the core analytical and quantitative techniques required by the modern economics graduates. ASC attempts to create a realistic learning atmosphere while also honoring students' communication abilities through regular discussions and presentation on current problems and debates. At Amity, we are a stern believer that a dynamic flow of knowledge should be promoted and that these conferences serve the purpose at its best. We believe that sustainable development goals are the future for development, innovation, and a sustainable environment, and have thus always focused on making everyone aware of it. At Amity School of Economics, this belief has been upheld through the conference being held by us. Our goal is to integrate knowledge and innovation through these goals under the banner of the 5th International Conference on Sustainable Development Goals, Harnessing Innovation, Technology and Society 5.0, under the blessings of Chancellor Sir Mr. Atul Chauhan and BC Ma'am Dr. Balwinder Shukla Ma'am. The idea for development has evolved itself, and the world today has joined hands to set its goals and targets and achieve the same. Our conference aims to bring together leading academic scientists, researchers, and research scholars to exchange and share their experiences and research results. Coming to our track, sustainable development and enabling technologies in marketing. The increasing demand and interest in the issue of sustainability have led to the expansion of development of the concept of marketing in the direction of sustainable marketing. Sustainable marketing is focused primarily on sustainable markets that includes a growing number of companies, different products and services, and of course, the customers, all of which are somewhat aware and take care of the problem of the sustainability. The concept of sustainable marketing, in addition to the company's profits, also take care of the long-term environmental, social, and economic effects of different activities. This approach represents a significant improvement in the relation to the traditional approach, which was focused mainly on the economic benefits of the company. Likewise, social networks have become the platform or ecosystem where the users exchange opinions and comments on various topics of their interest. Not only that, the benefits of the digital technology for the sustainable development goals, such as minimizing inequality by providing access to the basic services such as e-health, online, and education. Now I'd like to invite Ria Benji to introduce our session chairs.
Our first chairperson, Dr. Sheenu Wig, completed her PhD from Theri School of Advanced Studies. She is an eminent researcher in the area of corporate governance and sustainable value creation in business. She is presently working as Associate Professor at Symbiosis Center for Management Studies in Noida. She is an editor of reputed Scopus and Web of Science Index journals. Now I invite Dr. Sheenu to share her experience with us.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me? Am
Yes.
I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much for reading out the intro. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Namita Kapoor and Amity School of Economics for inviting me for this conference on sustainable development goals, harnessing innovation, technology, and society. I think the topic is very contemporary and very useful because sustainable development goals have come up as a guidance for addressing the global challenges worldwide. These days, the entire international community is looking forward to solving the challenges which sustainable development goals are presenting. And we all know that in the current times, when we are facing so many problems like climate change, poverty, inequality, so there is really a need to discuss and to identify the challenges which are there under sustainable development goals. Now, as we are discussing this topic and we are having this conference for the business and economic students. So I think the students will understand after this conference that how corporate strategy aligns with SDGs today. The companies are really looking forward to aligning SDGs into their corporate policy and strategy, and it is also helping them to identify the needs of society. Now, when the companies identify needs of society, it opens up new markets for them, and it also highlights areas where innovations are needed. So I think this conference is very contemporary, and it will help the academic community to further discuss and implement SDGs in the various domains of business. And I am really looking forward to enriching discussion and presentation. And I hope that all the discussants in this conference, they will come up with some new ideas, and they will motivate the students who are present here, the ones who are listening to this conference. So the students will also understand the importance of SDGs, and they will come up with some new and innovative ideas of their own, which will help the society and the country. So I really hope and look forward to enriching discussion in the conference. I thank you all once again, and I am very excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shinu. Our second chairperson, Dr. Sonia Singh, is the director of TOS Global Management, an education and management consultancy company with operations in India, UAE, Spain, UK, and Italy. She is recipient of the Education Excellence Award and honored by the Minister of Education and Training, the Kingdom of Tonga, for the support to African community for higher education. Previously, she was Group HR Director at Linscan, one of the leading oil and gas companies with 8 offices around the world. I invite Dr. Sonia to share her experience.
I'm audible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Very thank you for this introduction. And obviously, it's my pleasure to be a part of this conference on the sustainable development organized by Amity University and especially the Department of Economics. And I really thank to Dr. Namita Kapoor for inviting me. Well, as Dr. Shinu told, yes, organizations are looking for, these sustainable goals. And this topic is very near to my heart because being a corporate leader, we look forward for such things, how we can achieve our sustainable goals. And in this conference, I hope there will be a lot of exchange of ideas, informations, as people are from diverse field, and a lot many issues we are going to discuss. I can see there are almost 15 papers in this track, from business, from food business to electricity car, digitalization, healthcare, then online marketing, social media, gamification, all new things are there. So I hope after these, and this is the first track of the day. So after this, we will try to achieve some of the UNO 17 goals, 169 targets. Out of that, we will show some directions to these targets. I'm looking forward, and hopefully we can find out some solutions to current problems which most of the organizations are facing. A lot of innovations are required. And one more thing I want to add, that in near future, you will find that all the investments will move towards those organizations, projects, products, which are sustainable, viable, and mostly for the environment. Maybe the projects which are looking forward for waste management, byproducts, or some kind of emission reduction in the environment, anything. So that already has been decided by UNO. Most of the organization which gives a lot of fundings, after 2025, you will see most of the fundings will divert towards such type of projects. So this is very important, contemporary, and we must keep on doing these type of conferences. And I will suggest that next time, please also include the environmental issues also, because it has a lot of impact on the economy of any country as a whole. Thank you. And I really congratulate to Economics Department of Amity University, and best of luck to all the present.
Thank you, ma'am. So we would be taking the question answer round in the end, and we will be having all the presentations first. So I hope you all have enriching sessions, and we will be starting with the first presenter now. So may I invite Siddharth, sir, to present his paper?
Good afternoon, respected panel members and dear students. My name is Siddharth Nanda, and should I share the PPT here?
Yes, sir.
Is it visible?
Sir, actually, we are presenting the paper for you.
Okay. Tamam sharing. Good afternoon again once and everyone here. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I'm audible. Thank you so much. The topic for the presentation today and the paper title is a study on social media marketing, influence on consumer behavior. Can move on to the next slide, please. Thank you. In this paper, I've diverted into several aspects. Initially, it is about literature review. So first, I'll discuss about certain literature reviews, which I've been sharing in the current PPT. According to Pantene and Co. 2012, social media marketing triggers viral communications amongst consumers across online communities, brand and fan pages, and promotion-related content generated by the company's organizations on popular networking sites such as Twitter, Facebook, and many others. Social media marketing as a definition as a new wave of marketing tool choose to promote high brand attention, awareness, and involvement across social networks of its target market. Can you move to the next slide, please? Thank you. In 2020, according to Harris, people worked from home during the COVID-19 epidemic, who bought less and a large number of children were homeschooled. With these obstacles, marketing throughout the COVID-19 period is critical for promoting and advertising diverse companies around the world. As a result, analytics and social media engagements are currently the most potent tools used by marketers. Can you move to the next slide, please? Thank you. In a review of the literature on the influence of pandemics on human behavior, Latto et al. In 2020 discovered that research has mostly focused on the effects of pandemics on preventive health behavior. During a time when consumers are unsure how to react, the COVID-19 pandemic presents a chance to obtain significant consumer behavior insights. As a result, the current research gives light on how consumer social media activities have changed since the outbreak of pandemic. Can you move to the next slide, please? Thank you. Now, these are few of the literature reviews. This is the last one just to review. Williams et al. 2000, according to a literature review, said from pre-purchase data through post-purchase behavior, social media marketing affects perception, buyer selection, behavior, buying decision, and attitude according to its research. The recognition of a product need is the first step in the consumer decision-making process. When a consumer's current condition and intended state of being becomes incompatible and the product need is triggered. Can you move to the next slide, please? Thank you. Now, in this research paper, I have done literature reviews. After that, I've used qualitative analysis. In qualitative analysis, I've used NVivo software. And in this, I've used thematic analysis as one of the themes. So here, basically, in thematic analysis can be done using the transcribes. I have done thematic analysis basically using interviews. So I've done interviews of 10 people, and out of that, I've transcribed them and I've done the thematic analysis, which I'll discuss. But in thematic analysis, you not only include interviews, you can do thematic analysis using literature reviews. You can do thematic analysis using this NVivo software. You can do using images, using texts, etc. Can you move to the next slide, please? The objective of this study seeks to explore the influence of social media marketing campaigns on consumers' buying behavior using thematic analysis with NVivo qualitative research software. The study's primary data were acquired using interview methods of 10 respondents. Now, these 10 participants which I have chosen are from Hyderabad, Gurgaon, Bangalore, Bhubaneswar, and Assam. And a purposive sampling was decided on this, out of which 50 were males and 50 were females. And the age group was mostly between 38 and 47 and used smartphone and Facebook. Thank you. This is the same respondents profile where the data was collected of 10 respondents from 38 to 47 who were using smartphones and using Facebook as well from these 5 states. Can you please move to the next slide? Thank you. Now, when I use this NVivo software, we started the coding and themes, and these are the few codes and themes which I developed. social media platforms, social media marketing campaigns, traditional consumer communication platforms, market penetration, customer reviews, attracting consumers, and brand awareness. These were the 7 core themes developed. Can you move on to the next slide, please? Now, on this particular research paper, three basic analyses were done using these codes and themes. One was cluster analysis, through which items clustered by word similarity was done. Second was matrix code presence. I'll tell you what is matrix code presence. I'll move on to the next one. And comparing 2 codes. Can you move on to the next, please? Thank you. Now, in NVivo software, when we do this coding and themes, there's something known as cluster analysis. Now, what it does is when I did interviews, there are certain responses of respondents which had similar points. So these cluster analysis with the help of NVivo, what it did, it clustered the similar words together and created in a diagram. And that diagram was known as items clustered by word similarity. So this is one of the analysis known as items clustered by word similarity, to have a view. What are the most similar words which are used by the respondents during the interview? Can move on to the next analysis, please. Now, the next analysis and the tool was matrix code presence. Now, what is it? When I did 10 interview of 10 respondents, these are the 7 codes and themes which was there. So this particular table gives you a detailed view of which code was present under which respondent. For example, social media platform code was present with R10, respondent 10, responded 2, 3, responded 10, responded 2, but no other respondent used these specific contents or related to social media platforms. Similarly, in social media marketing campaigns, all of this particular code was developed because all of the respondents used related to the social media campaigning terms when they in their responses while interviewing. The same goes for traditional consumer communication platforms as well. But in fact, of market penetration code, only one respondent, that is R4, was present because only R4 communicated and responded in the questions relating to this market penetration. Now, in case of customer reviews code, apart from only one respondent, R4 had given the customer reviews related views, others had not responded or had no views relating to this. And in case of attracting consumers, only R1 and R9 had given their views relating to how attracting consumers and luring consumers. No other participant had responded relating to that directly. And in case of brand awareness, except R2 and R6, and also R4, all other participants had talked about brand awareness indirectly or used certain phases which are related to awareness and significance of brand awareness in social media marketing campaigns. Can move on to the next slide, please. This is a graphic presentation. This is a presentation of this matrix code presence. In this particular diagram we have presented. These all are generated by NVivo qualitative analysis software. Thank you. Can you please move on to the next? Now, this is the same thing which I was explaining. These are the respondents who are 10, and these are the codes like social media platforms are present with R10 and R2. R2 is one respondent, second respondent, R10 is the 10th respondent. Social media marketing campaigns are present with all interviews. Traditional consumer communication platforms are present with all interviews. Market presentation is only with R4 respondent. Consumer reviews are present with only R4. Attracting customers is present with R1 and R9. Brand awareness is present with R1, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So these are the codes and themes which are developed because majority of the responses have given more or less similar to these views. Can move to the next slide, please. Thank you. Now, after this presence, we also analyzed what are the percentage of interviews, if it was there, if this particular code has been developed and these particular interviews have given these views, what was the approximate percentage? In this matrix, this particular analysis known as matrix code query interview percentage, wherein in R1, 29.27% of social media marketing campaigns views were communicated. R10, it was 27.27. Basically, I'll just show you which is the highest percent and lowest percent. I can move to the next slide, please, so it'll be easy for you all to understand. No, previous slide, please. Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, thank you. Now here it says that if you would see that majority in social media marketing campaigns, the highest percentage of response was 50%, and it was by R6. So R6, the code was present, but maximum times indirectly in various phases, this particular concept was discussed. And apart from that, the most highest was R2, just 59.18%. And the lowest in this category, if you see, the lowest is around 13.64%. So though it was present, but the most least number of times it was repeated or discussed by the concerned respondent. It was R3. Now 0% says it was nil, as it was yes and no category presence is already reflected. Now if you see in case of traditional consumer communication platforms, 51.14% is the highest. In this case, R3 have spoken more about the traditional consumer communication platforms, and the lowest in this communication was around 20%. It was of R4. So this is the highest, where other respondents have more or less in between, and 0% indicates they have not responded and discussed anything about these codes. In case of the market penetration in customer reviews, it is 30%, 30% by R4 as well. And attracting consumers surprisingly had R1 only responding with 17.07%. Others have not responded indirectly to this or directly of any phases where this code was developed. And in case of brand awareness, the maximum percentage here was 35.23% by R3 respondent, and the least was 0%. So this is basically the pattern in which the code was present. And if it was present, what was the maximum number of times they have been discussing and responded to my questions, and that is the percentage. Can you move to the next slide, please? Now, the next analysis using NVivo qualitative software was comparing two codes. So what we have done here is we have taken major two codes which we felt is crucial, like social media marketing campaigns and attracting consumers. In this, I just can go to the next slide, please. Yes, so what you have done is by analyzing these two codes, we have compared that who are the major respondents who have spoken about these two codes. One was social media marketing campaign, another was attracting consumers. So R1 has both these codes. So the R1 respondent have spoken about both these. R2 has a social media campaigns code. R3 had a social media. So R2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. All of these had social media campaigns code. R9 had both, means R9 respondent had spoken about certain things related to social media marketing campaign and attracting consumers using both the codes. And R10 has social media marketing campaigns code. So basically R1 and R9 have more or less spoken, whereas the other R2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 have spoken mainly, and 10 have spoken more mainly about social media marketing codes. Can you move to the next slide, please? Thank you. So the conclusion here is that out of so much of analysis using thematic analysis and these interpretation analysis we have done using NVivo qualitative analysis software, consumer purchasing intent is influenced by social media marketing campaign, and network sites such as Facebook vary from conventional platforms since they gather information for all customers, implying that fit and connect with the target audience. More analysis is required to evaluate the most effective methods of social media marketing. Further studies have investigated the long-term positive and negative impacts of social media marketing. And here I'd like to add that we can also conduct sentiment analysis, which can be very extremely useful in the future. An organization should use social media ads to build and retain consumers and influence positive buying behavior. That's it. Can you move to the next slide, please? Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. And this presentation is done. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Panel members.
Thank you so much, sir, for enlightening us. If anyone has any questions, you can write them in the chat box, and sir, you can respond to them over there.
Okay, so
next, we have Jyotsna ma'am. She would be presenting her paper. Ma'am, are you here?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, ma'am, I'll just share your presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Ma'am, is it visible to you?
Yeah, it is visible. By the way, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Let me begin. Good afternoon, everyone. My topic for today's conference is, I will not buy electric car, but I either use a taxi or a boda boda. Green consumption versus sustainable consumption, consumer perception and practices. It is basically a research study which I had conducted recently in Kampala, which is the capital city of Uganda. Uganda is a country in East Africa. So right now I am speaking from Uganda. Okay, can I go to the next slide? I have actually prepared this paper with the help of my supervisor. I'm also a PhD research scholar from my university. I'm basically from Assam. I'm doing my research under Dr. Manojshri Mahanta. Can I please go to the next slide? Yeah. Sustainability, sustainable development, green consumption, sustainable consumption, and most importantly, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals have become buzzwords and an important part of the VUCA world. VUCA has become more than a buzzword. It is a way of thinking and approaching solutions to the problems of our digital and dynamic world. V stands for volatility, U stands for uncertainty, C for complexity, and A for ambiguity. Next slide, please. Before I begin my presentation, I would like to just highlight the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And my research basically focuses on goal number 12, which is responsible consumption and production. Next slide, please. These are the objectives of my study: to find the factors which influence sustainable consumption over green consumption, to find out how the behavior of sustainable consumption and green consumption affect the perception of consumers differently. Next slide, please. These are the research questions. What are the factors responsible for consumers choosing sustainable consumption over green consumption? Next question is, what are the various segments of consumers based on sustainable consumption and green consumption styles? Next slide, please. We must be hearing these two words very often: green consumption, sustainable consumption. Now, there are actually certain differences. Let us have a quick look. First, we begin with green consumption. Green is actually just a dimension, or one dimension of sustainability. It is used to express anything that is environment friendly, be it green fashion, green buildings, green transport, and so on. It is not only limited to recycling and reusing of available resources, it also includes reducing the number or amount of resources. For instance, the habit of switching off the lights or switching off any other electrical gadgets before leaving a room, going for repairing rather than buying new items. These are few ways to be green. Next slide, please. I have just presented my ideas by some pictures. First is green buildings, then recycling, then comes green transport, repairing, switching off lights, and shopping ways. So these are simple ways of being green. Next slide, please. Sustainable consumption. Now, what is sustainable consumption? It is concerned more than just the environment. When we were talking about green, it was just the environment. But when we talk sustainable, it is something beyond that. Sustainability or sustainable has a broader domain, and it has a far more precise definition than green. While green focuses on now as well as future, but sustainability, it looks more concerned with the future. What is sustainability? What is the definition? It is the ability to meet the current needs without compromising on the future generations' ability to meet the needs. Sustainability is based on three key aspects. These are environmental health, economic benefits, and social equity. Thus, sustainability comprises green products and services as well as eco-friendly activities. Its aim is to bring positive changes in social, economic, environmental processes so that a balanced relationship between nature and humans can be achieved. Next slide, please. These are a few examples of sustainability. Can be sustainable agriculture, agricultural practices like crop rotation, sustainable forestry, sustainable fishing. These are a few examples of sustainable agriculture come sustainability. Next slide, please. This is a very interesting part. The sustainability encompasses green, but green may not be directly sustainable. How? Let us have a look. Some green products or processes are not considered sustainable. For example, a product may be manufactured from a renewable resource. But if the product's manufacturing and logistics process consume a lot of energy, or if it has not been disposed of properly, then we can say that that product is not sustainable. The diagram clearly represents what I want to say. So I have already mentioned that green is just one dimension of sustainability. Sustainability is the bigger picture. Next slide, please. Now, what is green consumer? With the increasing environmental concerns among the consumers worldwide, marketers now have to cater to a population after identifying and targeting different segments of green consumer. They have to find out what motivates purchases of environmental friendly products. If the marketers does this along with appropriate market offerings, then the competitive advantage highlighted by Porter and others can be easily achieved. And to also add, green consumers, marketers, they have yet a big role, because this green consumer market is still a niche market. It has a lot of potential to be explored. Academic researchers and market research agencies have proposed many factors as influences on green consumer behavior, such as changing consumer values, demographic factors, knowledge of environmental problems, and alternative products, perceived personal relevance, and ability of individual to make an effective contribution. For a model which integrates the majority of these. This was stated by Dembowski and Hemmer-Lloyd in 1994. Next slide, please. Now, this is the research methodology. I have actually used qualitative study. I had my sample size was only 20. And the name of this study is Interpretive Phenomenological Approach. It is a qualitative study. It attempts to understand people's perceptions and understanding of a particular phenomenon. IPA, in short, it is also called IPA. It acknowledges the participants' personal lived experiences, and it involves double hermeneutic in which participants attempts to make sense of their own personal lived experience through the lens of the researcher. So this was stated by Smith in 2013. Next slide, please. Sampling and data collection, as I had already stated earlier, that I had collected data from 20 people. So 20 phenomenological semi-structured interviews were conducted to collect the data using purposive sampling as per the criteria of theoretical sampling. The consumers with post-graduation and or above were chosen for the interview to understand the green and sustainable perspective. A diverse sample with respect to age, gender, marital status, and occupation was chosen for studying the varied experience related to green and sustainable consumption. The selection of the sample was based on participants' willingness to take part in the study, their education level. Mainly, I have targeted the post-graduation or above as their eligibility criteria for this particular study, and also their level of environmental awareness and sustainability. Next slide, please. In-depth interviews were conducted for approximately half an hour. The interpersonal communication between the researcher, which is myself, and the participants, it facilitated the emergence of ideas from the participants. The questions were logically arranged to gain the general insights regarding their regular consumption pattern. They were then asked indirectly about what they think about their green or their sustainable practices or efficacies, which they follow in their day-to-day lives. Next slide, please. Standardized qualitative procedures were strictly followed until I had received the elicited illustrations, and then I had categorized them. After that, I finally all the recorded interviews were transcribed in direct speech. So whatever they spoke at that point of time were recorded in direct speech. Next slide, please. And the analysis part, data analysis, the experiences as disclosed by the respondents helped to segment the different types of consumer behavior on the basis of their sustainable and green consumption patterns. On the basis of both green consumption and sustainable consumption, the study finally it came out with 4 categories of consumer behavior or consumption practices. Next slide, please. On the basis of the consumers' lived experiences, there were 2 major themes which were identified from their discussions. The first theme, it related to the first research question, which was regarding the consumer's preference of sustainable consumption over green consumption. That means why they choose sustainable consumption over green consumption. What were the issues that actually stopped or actually was like a barrier that not to practice green consumption. To address this issue, barriers of consumption, green consumption have also been discussed. The next research question was regarding how differently green and sustainable consumption affect consumer behavior. And because of this, we have due to this, we came up with different types of green and sustainable consumers on the basis of their behavior. Next slide, please. So these are the 4 types of consumers which have been identified after this study. First group was the holistic conservationist, these consumers with high sustainable and green consumer behavior. Fragile conservationists, as the name suggests, so it is just the opposite of the first category, that is holistic conservationist. Consumers, they are with low sustainable behavior and with low sustainable and low green behavior. Third is sustainable conservationist, consumers with high sustainable but low green behavior. And the last is green conservationist, consumers with low sustainable but high green behavior. Next slide, please. Coming to the conclusion, the first conclusion that I have derived from this study is the respondents, they were profiled based on their experiences, the lived experiences about green or sustainable consumption. Some respondents, they mentioned that they felt somewhat guilty not to practice sustainability or green. So role of guilt, threat, they also feel sometimes threatened not to practice green. Morality, out of moral values, love for the nation, perceived consumer effectiveness, and even economic reasons that drive them to be a conservationist. So money also plays a bigger role, or price, which is also still a bigger plays a bigger role in adopting green consumer behavior. Third point is analyzing the sustainable lifestyles and green purchase behavior. We have come up with the identification and grouping of 4 broad types of consumer behavior, which I had already stated in my previous slides. Next slide, please. Although they have environmental knowledge and have positive intention to buy green products, I have found that there are certain barriers like lack of product information. People, they generally, they say that they do not get such type of information, or the product is not available. It is not easily available, or maybe they are unaware. High price. Prices are generally high because these green products or services are still like a niche product. So prices are generally high. Economic reasons and greenwashing. Greenwashing means like fake green claims, and that restrains them to be a green consumer. So instead of being a green consumer, most of the respondents, they chose to be sustainable. They chose to be a sustainable consumer, or practicing sustainable behavior. Apart by not buying green products, but they are practicing such other sustainable behavior. Companies should come up with, so the fifth point is that companies should come up with strategies to enhance the environmental effectiveness and empathetic concern among consumers. Therefore, my title was I would not buy electric cars, but I either use a taxi or a boda boda. Green consumption versus sustainable consumption. So this statement, which was mentioned on the first slide, it really holds good for one segment of the consumers. I had already mentioned there were 4 segments. So this particular statement, it holds good for the third segment. So, and now what is boda boda? People might be wondering there. Now what boda boda is a local term, very common here. It is actually the name given to a bicycle or a motorcycle taxi, which is used as a public transport. It finds its origin from the English words border to border. So earlier motorcycles were used in the African countries to cross from one border to another. So it is still believed to be, or it is still, people are still, using this means of transport. They think this is the most sustainable, most, and it is very popular. Next slide, please. So I had some limitations in this study. The first limitation is that this research was subjective in nature. It is difficult to establish the reliability and validity of the approaches. There may be also a little researcher-induced bias, because when I took the interview, I myself was present. So it might have influenced the research study. The interpretation of the data also, suppose if there would have been another researcher, that second researcher would have interpreted the collected data in a different way. The third point is the study was based on only one segment of the population. I had only targeted the educated youths for this particular study. Next slide, please. Coming to the scope for further research, considering the limitations which I mentioned now, I believe that more such phenomenological research on green consumer behavior should be conducted to check its consistency in different countries, continents as well. Till date, very limited studies have been done using this particular method of research in consumer behavior studies, and more specifically in Uganda or even in the entire continent. So I hardly see such studies here in Uganda. So I really feel good that I have conducted this study here. Also, this type of studies must be further complemented or developed using empirical phenomenology to derive results more scientifically. And this will, I think, will really help to generalize the results by using more quantitative methods along with this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Next, we have Ritika ma'am joining us. Ma'am, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, please note you only have 10 minutes to wrap up your entire presentation.
Okay, I will try to.
All right, ma'am. Ma'am, I'll just share your presentation. Ma'am, is it visible?
Yeah, it is visible to me. I hope so. I'm audible to all.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm really thankful to Amity School of Economics for giving me this opportunity to present my research paper on the topic, a study of demographic differences among the Indian consumers for psychological and mental effects associated with the pandemic. And I'm Dr. Ritika Jain, Associate Professor, Department of Commerce, Hansraj College, University of Delhi. Now, if you just see for the topic that is mentioned, it is going in line with the SDG goal that is mentioned as 3, health and the well-being of the people. And I'm specifically talking about the health and the well-being of the people in India in the pandemic scenario. So though a lot of things has been talked about, the infection per se, the physical ailment, the disease per se, and its effect on the Indians, but what about the psychological and the mental effect this pandemic has on the people is something that I have investigated in my study. So next slide. The plan of my studies, I will be talking about the background, the objectives of the study will be presented, followed by the literature review, research methodology will be presented, a profile of the respondent will be given, analysis and results will be presented, which will be followed by discussion and conclusion, and implication of my research will be presented, and limitations and direction for future research will follow. Next slide. So coming to the background of the study, we all know COVID-19 infection has actually disrupted the normal life of all of us, and definitely because of the serious health implications that COVID-19 has brought with it. But together with that, we also see there has been people have been mentally and psychologically affected due to COVID-19, besides the infection per se. Anxiety, stress, depression, fear, irregular sleep, feeling of loneliness. These are some of the non-COVID manifestations that have been observed in the people. The psychological and the mental effect of COVID-19 has remained unaccounted, or the limited research has been undertaken. And if I talk about specifically in India, very few research have been undertaken in India. This requires a continuous, and if we see for world over, it has been observed that yes, this requires a continuous monitoring and improvement in the psychological and the mental health of the people, so that they not only become resilient to the current pandemic, but are also prepared to handle any such health calamity in the future. Many countries are taking steps to counsel and provide needed support to mitigate the emotional effect of the pandemic. Next slide. So from this, the objective of my study is to gauge the impact of pandemic on the mental health of the Indian consumers across the social demographics, and to suggest to the government, medical practitioners, and psychological and mental health experts for an early intervention strategy for the vulnerable group, that is those people witnessing negative emotions, in order to promote their psychological and mental well-being so that they can lead a better life. Next slide. So coming to the literature review, what we have seen in the literature, that a large-scale disease outbreak to the tune of pandemic not only disrupts the day-to-day activities of the people, but is also physically, financially, and emotionally draining for the people. While the government data can present statistics with respect to physical and the financial effect of the pandemic, what remains unaccounted is the emotional effect of such unexpected, long-lasting, large-scale pandemic. The past research have also concluded a significant negative effect of the infectious disease outbreak on the psychological and the mental well-being of the people. And these past research that I'm talking about, I have just gone through the papers. Most of the papers, I would say 90% of the papers have been from the research outside India. So given the need for such kind of a research to be taken up in India. These negative effects have been observed in the past studies as depression, psychological distress, worry, functional impairment, anxiety, reduced quality of life. Past studies have also investigated the indirect manifestations of the pandemic in the form of challenging work condition, resulting in fatigue, sleeping and eating disorders, headache, and increased anxiety due to future job uncertainty. Please change. So the research methodology that has been adopted is a non-probability convenience sampling method of data collection, was using online questionnaire survey was done. 871 usable responses from 1,000 respondents were received. A pre-tested structured questionnaire was divided into two parts. Part A was about the socio-demographic information about the respondents, and Part B collected responses on 12 emotions commonly exhibited in the context of pandemic scenario. These emotions were listed with the bipolar ends representing opposites through a semantic differentiation scale ranging from 1 to 5. The data collected was analyzed for descriptive statistics such as frequency and the percentage to study the social demographic profile of the respondents. Cluster analysis was performed on the emotions data set to categorize the respondent on the basis of the widely exhibited emotions. Clusters so obtained were further analyzed using one-way ANOVA for significant differences between the clusters on the rated emotions, and chi-square test was run to investigate the association between identified cluster and the social demographic dimensions of the respondents. Please change the slide. So the entire analysis and results have been presented in the form of following slides, which will be shown: socio-demographic profile of the respondent, results of cluster analysis, graph of the mean centroid value of 3 clusters, group descriptive and one-way ANOVA results for differences between the clusters on each emotion, chi-square test of association between the clusters for the socio-demographic variables. Please change. So this is the socio-demographic profile of the respondent. If you would see that this survey tries to have a balanced representation of the gender. Sorry for the spelling error that has been done over here. So almost 50-50%. Age-wise, if we see 43% have been youngster, but if we also see 41 above age group are being accounted again by 43%. So a balance has been tried to ensure that there is youngster as well as adult and old people being involved in the survey. Level of education, yes, the respondents were largely school having school graduated, and yes, there were few also who were postgraduates and professionals. Occupation, again 50%. If we see students are there, so 50%, remaining 50% are those who are working, as well as the housemakers and the retired also included over here. Family income has been more or less distributed from high income level to middle income and low income level. So though very very low income level has been represented or less. Yes, as far as the place of location is concerned, you would see that the data has been collected largely from North India, though some representation is there for Central India, West India, East India, as well as South India. Please change the slide. So these are the results of the cluster analysis. So cluster 1, which represents actually negative emotions, counted for 200 respondents. Cluster 2, which shows the positive emotions, has 214 respondents, and cluster 3, which demonstrate neutral reaction to the pandemic, has 457 respondents. In total, it is 871. So on the right side, you can see the graph of the mean centroid value of the 3 clusters, where the lowest level, lowest line shows the negative emotion, the cluster with the negative emotions. So it is having mean centroid value as negative. The second one cluster is being represented by the highest line, which shows a positive line for the mean centroid value. Everywhere the value is in the range of above 0.5, and the central line, which shows cluster 3, the value of this particular cluster revolves around the range of 0. Next slide. So on doing one-way ANOVA analysis for the 3 clusters for each and every emotional variable, the mean value of each and every cluster for each and every emotions is being shown in the second column. So for the fear, for example, you have 2.3 as the negative, 4.14 as the positive emotions, and 3.22 being the central value. So it is something neutral emotions. So everywhere in the same way, if you see for all the variables, all the 12 emotions that have been investigated, the p-value is coming out to be less than 0.001. That shows that everywhere there has been significant differences in the 3 clusters on all the emotions that have been studied. Next slide. Now these clusters then have been investigated for the socio-demographic differences. So if we see for the 4 socio-demographic variables that have been investigated: gender, age, occupation, and income, the p-value comes out to be significant for age and occupation with a value of less than 0.001, and for gender and income it doesn't emerge out to be significant. So if we see for age, just see for the cluster 1, 108 have been in the respondent in the young category who have negative emotions, but for cluster 2 you can see that highest number of respondents are in 41 to 50 years age category, that is 79, and in the cluster 3 we see it is across it is in both the categories 20 years and below, as well as for 41 to 50 years. So again, if you would see for the same thing in occupation category, these kind of trends are visible in cluster 1, 2, and 3, such differences, and so they emerge out to be an important profiling for clusters, for the 3 clusters that have been done. Next slide. So coming to the discussion and the conclusion, the analysis of cluster revealed that cluster 1 has 23% of the respondents who were having negative outlook to the pandemic. Cluster 2 has 25% of the respondents who had positive outlook to the pandemic, and cluster 3 had 52% of the respondents who had a neutral outlook to the pandemic. Cluster 1 varied significantly from the cluster 2 because of negative and the positive outlook that was there. And cluster 3 represents neutral stand of the respondent to the pandemic. One-way ANOVA results showed significant differences in the 3 cluster with respect to 12 emotions. Chi-square test of independence result found age and occupation categories to be significantly associated with the cluster, but no such association was observed for gender and income. Young people in the age category 20 years and below are having more negative emotions due to pandemic. Occupation-wise, students are observed to be more negative in their emotions to pandemic. However, with respect to gender and income level, no such significant differences were observed in the 3 clusters. Next slide. So the implications of my study is this research add to the limited existing research on the effect of pandemic on the mental and the psychological state of the people in India. The study observed emotional effect of COVID-19 across the socio-demographic variables with gender, age, income, and occupation in India. Surprisingly, emotions associated with COVID-19 are not just negative, that is largely being viewed, but also positive by certain segment, like the cluster 2 in my study. This can possibly be attributed to cleaner air, relaxed life, closeness with the family, etc., experienced by the people in India during the lockdown period. Young Indians are found to have more negative emotional outlook towards pandemic due to its impact on the planned career path. This research recommends to the policy makers for planning an early intervention strategy, especially for the young Indians who have been found to be more negative in their emotions during pandemic. Next slide. The limitations, yes, the first limitations of my study is that it has not gone to the root cause of the exhibited emotions. So such understanding requires a qualitative survey, which is yet another limitation of my study. Thirdly, though the sample is large, yet it is concentrated with respondents from North India. So future research can go on about collecting data from Central, East, South, and West India. More robust sampling techniques can lead to a balanced cluster size. So in the future research, what can be undertaken? The study opens a gateway to the future research in this area on negative, positive, and neutral emotional outlook of respondent independently. So 3 researches can be done independently by different researchers. Future research in this area can also investigate about the mitigation strategies for the negative emotional outburst at home and workplace, and suggest for intervention strategies on these aspects. So with this, I really thank you all. And you can write your queries in the chat box. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Next, we have Vanch Katyal from Amity School of Economics. Vanch, are you there?
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Vansh Patel from Amity School of Economics, and my paper is titled as Analysis of International Trade as an Engine of Growth in Emerging Nations. Next slide, please. So my paper purpose is to examine the impact of international trade on economic growth, to determine the relationship between the components of international trade and economic growth, and to identify the causal relation between the components of international trade and economic growth. Next slide. International trade has become an increasingly important contributor to economic growth as a primary factor of openness. Trade is a crucial part of the 2030 agenda, since the global financial crisis of 2008 and the subsequent trade downturn in 2014 and 16, emerging economies have made a strong recovery. This was mitigated by the pandemic's economic impact in 2020. Traditionally, as we all know, worldwide exchange consisted of traded items like textile, meals, objects, spices, treasured metals, treasured stone, and items of artwork, and numerous objects throughout the borders. Everybody has heard of the Silk Coast in addition to Amber Street and different well-known routes that existed, and the ports and settlement that flourished because of the alternate, which changed into carried on through land course in addition to sea routes. Today, with the development of era and effect of globalization, has made it essential for all international locations to interact always in global alternate for his or her survival. Next slide. Yeah, design. This study is conducted to examine the impact of international trade by using multiple regression model, and also to understand the relationship between trade openness, current account, and economic growth. Next slide. Multiple regression analysis is considered as most appropriate model for my study, as multiple regression is a technique that can be used to analyze the relation between a single dependent variable and several independent variables. So my variables are current account, trade openness, and economic growth, where hypothesis 0, there is no significant difference economic growth with a change in current account and trade openness, and hypothesis 1, there is a significant difference economic growth with a change in current account and trade openness. The adjusted R-square is 88.46%, which depicts that the regression model specified is a good fit to analyze the variable collectively. P-value of the variable trade openness is less than the significance level, that is 0.05, which indicates that it is a good fit, and its coefficient value is minus 0.416, which indicates that there is a negative relation between the openness of trade in SAARC nations to that of their GDP growth in 2019. Both the variables of a study are insignificantly relative. This indicates an increase of 1% in current account led to a decrease of 0.693% in economic growth, and an increase of 1% in trade openness led to a decrease of 0.416% in economic growth. Next slide. Key findings. Of my paper. The role of trade in economic development. It has more effects like static effect of trade in economic development. International commerce allows in least developing countries to rise beyond its PPC and enhance its standard of living through specialization and exchange. Employment generation. The majority of LDCs, on the other hand, are labor surplus countries. As a result, an increase in labor demand is unlikely to result in a significant salary increase. Greater dependency. Increasing production of basic labor-intensive items while relying on developed countries for technology, skill-intensive manufacturing, and capital goods can lead to undue economic dependence. It also connects the developing countries' economic health to that of the developed countries. Export instability. Relative expansion in traditional goods production may not be beneficial if it comes at the expense of contemporary manufacturing. Increased specialization in these goods might result in greater income instability even in the short run due to low income and price elasticity of demand for such goods, and the instability of supply of agriculture and primary products due to natural circumstances. Promotion of infant industries. As a developing country acquires capital and improves with technology, its comparative advantage goes from primary products to simple manufactured commodities, then to more complex ones. As a result of economic development, international commerce can help infant industries grow and become internationally competitive by giving market size and exposure to product and process that would be impossible in a closed country. Next slide, please. Traditional trade theories implies that openness at the country level will lead to increased growth through specialization, investment in innovation, productivity increases, or better resources allocation. The trade of SAARC nation caused a deficit to the country, and almost every nation registered a negative economic growth in the period compared to the other years. The main reason for deficits were the geopolitical tensions, oil price volatility, retreat from multilateralism, and country-specific domestic risk. The SAARC nation raised their imports and exports, which resulted in negative growth as they were not able to maintain a balance between the two. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vansh. Next, we have Pallavi ma'am presenting her paper. Ma'am, are you here?
Yes, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are.
Can I share my screen?
Ma'am, we'll be sharing the presentation. Just a minute. Ma'am, is it visible to you?
Yes. Can I start?
Yes, ma'am, but please wrap up your presentation in 10 minutes.
Okay, sure. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Pallavi, and today I'm here to present my topic, online experiential marketing. Next slide, please. First of all, an introduction to online experiential marketing. Brand marketing guru, Professor Bernd Schmidt, was the first one to introduce the concept of experiential marketing. Experiential marketing, which is a traditional addition to the traditional marketing, summarizes the various approaches, concepts to marketing and advertising. Experiential marketing acts as a process or a way to promote and increase the value, which gives customers the opportunity to observe in the events or occurrences, or perhaps to receive or to accept the facts. In experiential marketing, Schmidt noted that the goal of experiential providers, that is ex-pros, is to create an effective user experience for customers so that they have a unique encounter with the product and the product that will take you forward. Next slide, please. The benefits of online experiential marketing include that it is one of the, as internet is one of the only medium that can cross geographic and national borders. So experiential marketing can reach the people easily. The price to advertise one's business online is less expensive as compared to other marketing tools. Internet allows small and medium-sized businesses to easily promote their products. The internet makes it possible to keep in touch with clients in real time. Customers share their experience after using the product. Web marketing saves a lot of time and effort. Instead of a customer service team that responds to customer requests, one can add all the information of the product to the website so that customers can see everything. Online marketing can make small business to be available 24/7, which means increased sales and profits. Next slide, please. The tools of online marketing include display advertising, web banner advertising, traditional banners, pop-ups, floating ad, expanding ad, text ads, search engine marketing, search engine optimization, sponsored search, social media marketing, and mobile advertising. Next slide, please. Now, some of the review that I have collected regarding this. First of all, in Kumar 2008 tried to find out how experiential marketing can be used to build a brand. It was found that the store using experiential marketing had visitors spending more time. Ambience of store played a significant role. Shobraire et al. In 2014 described increased customer engagement of the website, experience-based marketing, the growth of e-services, and the retail sector by further empirical advantages. The author explored experiential values, online store, and enhanced customer engagement, website, and e-commerce. Next, Garcia and Suarez in 2017 aimed to measure the relationship between offline and online experiential marketing. The findings of the study suggested that there was a significant impact on hotel experience because of online experience. Next slide, please. Rather et al. In 2018 measured the interaction between online experiential marketing. In addition, in cases where they're trying to determine whether there is a significant relationship between experience of working in an online hotel and the subsequent experience of flight and hotels. Wang et al. In 2021 assessed the consumer's sense of hearing, feeling, thinking, performance, and recounting the process of purchasing process, whether the consumer is willing to voluntarily create a profitable business character. The study aimed at assessing the effect of social mediation, product self-awareness, and finding service equity in the relationship between consumer marketing and custom ethics. Next one. Next slide, please. Objectives of the study. First of all, to understand the sense, feel, think, act, relate, that is experience providers of experiential marketing. To study the satisfaction of customers regarding online experiential marketing. And third, to analyze the impact of experiential marketing on satisfaction of customers. The hypothesis taken for the study is that there is a significant and positive impact of strategic experiential modules on satisfaction of customers. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. The methodology used for the study included a descriptive research design. The convenience sampling technique was used to collect the data. Data was collected from 199 respondents using online Google Forms. Next one, please. The analysis includes the calculation of mean and standard deviation. The statements are as follows, like, will you intend to purchase from online website? Will you recommend browsing online? The website features stimulate your curiosity towards products. The features of e-commerce website and mobile applications make a good product image. Are you satisfied with your decision to purchase from online stores? So these were the statements used. The mean values of most of them were above 3.5 on a 5-point Likert scale. And it showed that majority of the respondents were in agreement. Next slide, please. Yes, a regression analysis was conducted to find out whether the hypothesis suggested was true or false. It was found that the impact of experiential marketing on satisfaction, the R-square value was 0.115, that is 11.5% impact was found of experiential marketing on satisfaction. Also, the significant value suggested that there was significant impact, and the beta value of experiential marketing was 0.186, which suggested a significant impact of experiential marketing on the satisfaction of customers in an online environment. Next one. So we can conclude that today more and more people have become aware about the importance of online experiential marketing. They are searching for input from online sources. Online experiential marketing basically helps in enhancing the knowledge of customers towards product. Online experiential marketing is a platform for purchasing products as per customers' needs and wants. It also provides after-sale services for customers, which helps in building trust. The online shopping experience lets customers feel very interesting and fresh. The study also showed that strategic experiential modules had significant and positive impact on satisfaction. Thus, use of online experiential marketing creates satisfaction, which in turn builds loyalty. Next one. Lastly, I would like to give some suggestions based on the study. The study results showed that customers intended to purchase online. Therefore, the online experiential marketing should be done in such a way that it satisfies the customers. The study results also showed that online experiential marketing did not appeal to the creative side of customers, so this aspect must be looked into. As there was a direct relationship between online experiential marketing and satisfaction, so special effort must be made to improve various aspects of experiential marketing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Next, we have Manisha ma'am presenting her paper on gamification and its role in the business world. Ma'am, are you here?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yes, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Manisha Yadav, a research scholar in SGT University. I'm pursuing my PhD under the guidance of Dr. Amit Dangi. Next slide. My topic is gamification and its role in business world. Next slide, please.
Ma'am, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you're not visible to us. Can you please turn your camera on?
Yeah. Sorry for this. First of all, what is gamification? A gamification is a mechanism in which firms use game-like elements in a non-gaming context to modify or change the user's behavior. As gamification is a very technological trend that is continuously gaining strength in various sectors and becoming a popular term among researchers, practitioners, and business concerned. Gamification is the use of game techniques and processes in a non-gaming environment for changing the user's behavior in a desired manner. As detonating a mechanism of applying game design elements into a non-gaming context is referred as gamification. Next slide, please. There are lots of gamification elements. Some of them are points, badges, leaderboard, awards. Business world use distinct kind of gamification elements, but mainly use point, badges, leaderboard, awards to engage users and employees to increase the productivity. Next slide, please. As according to Prashad et al. 2019, badges and rewards are the most efficient gaming techniques to enhance productivity by engaging the employees, as employees more influenced by these two elements only. Gartner 2011, various business concerns are adopting rewards as gamification mechanism to boost up motivation among employees. Next slide, please. Objective of this study is to analyze the various sectors which are using the gamification for achieving the desired goals. Next slide, please. Different sectors which uses gamification for the desired behavior: marketing, health and fitness, education, tourism, and the business organization which wants employee engagement through the help of the gamification. Next slide. Just through the help of previous literature review, there are various authors which prove that the gamification is helpful in modifying the behavior in the area of marketing. Just like Noor Behbahani, Gamification has the potential to engage customers and to enhance loyalty towards brand by persuading and motivating the customers. Next, organizations show interest in applying game design mechanisms for marketing campaigns because positive interaction is possible with the help of gamification, which leads toward brand engagement and further turns into a brand loyalty. Gamification also drives consumer for continuous use of gamified application and further leads to purchase intention. As brand loyalty, brand engagement, and purchase intention all are the basic points of the marketing. Next slide, please. Health and fitness, like in the marketing sector, health and fitness is also moving towards adopting a gamification element for changing the user's behavior, for acquiring a healthy behavior. Health and fitness industry has been focusing on gamification mechanism in recent years to change health behavior of users, and gamification has the potential to modify health behavior. Therefore, the applying gamification has become popular in health and fitness applications. Next slide, please. Education is also adapting a gamification element for changing the attitude of student also. The Auraichi et al. Used the Octalysis framework and games framework and proved that gamification elements are successfully built physical and mental connection with the students and further help them to engage in activity. Fitz and Walter in the year 2013 also proved that gamification elements have the potential to engage students by framing a task as a game in learning environment. Next slide, please. Tourism sector is also using the gamification element for attracting the tourists or visitors. Tourism industry also introduced various game-based design to attract visitors, such as airlines used gaming strategy for gaining passengers' loyalty. Storytelling method allowed for better interaction with tourists and also used location-based games to attract tourists for destination visit. Restaurants are also used reward system as gamification for customers to gain order the food. Next slide, please. According to Prasad, proved gamification as an effective tool for enhancing employees' efficiency and productivity. Gaming environment is successful in engaging employee, improving work quality, and reducing employee absenteeism. Prasad in the year 2020 also stated that gamification enhanced the engagement of teaching staff and higher education faculty. This study conducted on pre and post gamification environment provided to the staff and the faculty. Next slide, please. Lastly, conclusion. Gamification is an innovative tool that gained popularity in each and every sector of business. The basic motive of every business to earn profit by satisfying the customers as well as employees, and gaming strategy is helpful in enhancing the experience of both customer and the employee as well. While the successful implementation of gamification depends on effective implementation of game design, the executors should assess the gamifying strategy according to the area of application. Gamification has various distinct elements such as point, badges, leaderboard, storytelling, etc. And each gamification components need to be effectively analyzed before implementing them. Thank you, everyone. My presentation is over.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we'll be having to you a few videos of our sponsors, Casa Medicine, De Biryani, Diet or Right, and Mini State. Next, we have Dhruv Jain from Amity School of Economics, who will be presenting his paper on digitalization and its impact on the aviation sector.
Good afternoon, session chairs, and everyone all present here. The topic for my dissertation is digitalization and its impact on aviation sector. Starting with the introduction, digitalization simply means converting analog data into digital data. On the other hand, though it describes the automation of processes and business model by connecting digital technology, information, and people. By this paper, I would like to shed light on the impact of digitalization on the aviation sector and how has the Internet of Things helped the aviation sector alongside the impact of novel coronavirus on the flying experience and on the industry. But the objectives for my dissertation are how the Internet of Things have helped the aviation industry, the impact of COVID in aviation sector, several government policies to comprehend the key challenges, and further the initiative taken to build the fundamental foundation of the aviation sector. The methodology, the data is collected using structural questionnaire method, and the secondary data was collected from existing data sources, catalogs, internet, books, newspaper, magazines, and journals. Population consists of frequent air travelers residing in Delhi NCR and in Noida. The sampling size in the sampling method is stratified random sampling. For carrying out the research work, a sample of 100 respondents was studied, gathering the demographic variables such as age, gender, education, place of stay, and income slab is used. Analysis. To the questionnaire, I declare that majority of the respondents surveyed are above 20 years of age. The majority of the people fall in the survey of income slab for 50,000 to 1 lakh. Majority of the people agree that the apps like Make My Trip, etc. can get to help a cheaper air ticket, which are 55%. 10% of the population disagree that the apps like Make My Trip Advisor doesn't help in getting corporate discounts. Majority of respondents agree that online check-in helps to save and manage time. 62% of respondents agree that the digitalization in the airline industry has helped to save some time. Conclusion. Without a strategic framework, digital innovation will fail. Because digital transformation is such a trendy issue right now, many airlines are embarking on it, but they must understand the transformation. That doesn't happen without a strategy. Many airlines have soiled information strategies when they truly need a cohesive information strategy to ensure a long-term digital transformation. Understanding your all-over information strategy across discipline is always the first step towards successful digitalization. Understanding is the key to success, and the software you purchase should support your airline digital transformation goal. Thank you.
Thank you, Dhruv. Next, we have Zangmo from Amity School of Economics, who will be presenting her paper.
Good afternoon, session chairs, moms, ladies and gentlemen. My topic for the dissertation is Youth Aspiration on Employment, a case study of Bhutanese graduates. I repeat, Youth Aspiration on Employment, a case study of Bhutanese graduates. I am Sring Zangmo from MA Economics, 4th semester, and my co-author is Rishi Sewang, who is currently in Bhutan, and he is not able to attend today because he has some important work there. Now, moving to the introduction. We know that in the world, young people are most affected due to economic instability across the globe. Similarly, around 60% of the Bhutanese population represents youths below 25 years of age who has high potential for productivity and economic development. But recently, Bhutan has been facing a major challenges of youth employment and a significant number of youths moving abroad looking for overseas employment. According to National Labor Force Survey conducted by National Statistical Bureau of Bhutan 2020, projected youth unemployment rate to be 22.6%, almost double the rate of 2017, which is 10.6%, which is alarming. And the most surprising thing about the youth unemployment is the youth unemployment rate is highest among bachelor's degree in my country compared to low level of education, and lowest being with no formal education, NSP 2020. A labor force participation rate is one of the principal indicators used to monitor the progress towards the UN Sustainable Development Goal 8, decent work and economic growth, which is directly linked to Bhutan's national development goals of providing full, gainful, and productive employment to all the Bhutanese people. Now, I have a question. Is the country not able to generate enough employment opportunities, or the educated youths not taking up the available jobs, which is leading to Brendan and youth employment sustainability in my country? Now, objectives of the study. The first one, to understand youth aspirations regarding the choice of employment and the reasons. And number two, to identify youth employment issues among Bhutanese graduates, especially the Bhutanese graduates. And the third one, to determine the strategies to sustain youth employment in Bhutan. Now, moving to methodology, I've used both qualitative and quantitative research methodology, and the sources of data are both secondary and primary data. Secondary from the literature review, and primary data, I have two groups of participants. The first group being the university graduates under Royal University of Bhutan who are currently in the colleges. And the second group of my participants are the public administrators who are directly or indirectly engaged in the policy formulation, implementation in my country. And the method of the data collection and process, I've set a structured questions, that is close-ended questions for the graduates. And I use Ledger's scale, scale of 1 to 5. And I have set the open-ended questions for the public administrators to collect their views, suggestions to combat the issues of youth unemployment in Bhutan. And the method of data analysis and process. To analyze the data, I have used a partial least square structural equation model. We call in short PLSM to analyze the data. And why I have used PLSM? There are a few reasons here. Number one, to explore theoretical extension provided by the literature. And number two, the sample size of my study is very small compared to the population. Actually, I have distributed questions to more than 400 students, but I was able to collect only from 86 of the university graduates. And the third reason is the path model I have used in this study have more than one formative constructs to use this PLSM model to come out with the practical and realistic solutions. And as I have said, I have used smart PLS software, same model to analyze the data. And these are the constructs, the choice of the employment, the types of the employment you'd prefer to work after graduation, government, private, self-business, entrepreneurship, former, and abroad represents the people who want to work in the foreign countries. And the other construct I have here is the youth aspirations and the causes of unemployment. And the rectangle yellow ones are the indicators which I have used the formative measurement model to analyze the data. And in the first quadrant, you will see path coefficient. In the formative measurement model, I have to see, sorry, the model suggests, the measurement model suggests the significance level, and you can see the path coefficient. And if you look at, you'll see the significance level is 0.001 for the government, and 0.001 for the self-business, and rest you will see insignificant. And the second I have here is the R square, and the value of R square should be weak, moderate, and substantial power. But for the weak, it's 0.25, and for the moderate, it's 0.5, and for the substantial power that influence the causes of youth unemployment, yes, 0.7, and my R square value is 0.718. That means it is also significant. And moving to the next, that is reliability and the validity. In that case, it is measured by the correlation of the construct, and the value should be greater than or equal to 0.70, and my value here is 0.769. In the fourth quadrant, you will see construct reliability and validity. And now coming to the findings of my study. As I have the types of employment options or the youth aspirations, they want to join after graduation. The first one I have is government. G1, G2, G3 indicators are related to government. And the social status, job security and higher remuneration, and parents' influence to take up government job found to be very significant. And the second construct is private sector, and only the lack of job security and lower remuneration offered by private sector becomes significant, and rest of the two indicators are insignificant. And Bhutanese youth feels that entrepreneurship requires experience and skills, which is not true. And we know that anybody can take up entrepreneurship, and it is very lucrative in real sense. And Bhutanese youth feel that farming is not their option after graduation. And regarding the self business, they feel that lack of finance, lack of family support, and lack of confidence are the main reasons they are not able to take up business right after the graduation. And in the introduction part, I've explained that Bhutanese youths are moving to foreign countries looking for overseas employment. And there is reason again, the stiff competition in the domestic market or the home country for the jobs, and the higher earning opportunities abroad has led youths to move abroad. With this, I've reached to my conclusion. And in the first introduction part, I've asked the question, is the country not able to create enough job employment opportunities for the Bhutanese youth, or are the educated youths not able to take up the jobs which are available to them? Now, in the conclusion part, my study has proved that it's not that the country is not able to create the employment opportunities for the Bhutanese youth, because the Bhutanese newspaper 2020-22 says that more than 50,000 foreign workers, semi and skilled and semi-skilled workers are in our country working in the construction sector and power projects. That is why the youth unemployment is rising in the country, because of youth choice and preferences in the job. And the other thing is the family protection and the family support they get. And next one is the protection and security of employment that is being offered by government job than the private sectors. Now coming to policy recommendations or some of the suggestions, the parents are affecting the youth's choice of employment in my country. That's why there need to be change the mindsets of the youths and parents regarding the employment options. And it requires reformation of labor laws, employment protection and security in private sectors. Then I think youths will be opting private sector job as well. The government policymakers need to focus and motivate youths on the entrepreneurship courses from the schools and colleges. Then only youths will be able to take up entrepreneurship after graduation. And youth should be also provided with the business trainings and financial support, so that they take up business as the major occupation right after graduation. With this, I'd like to say thank you, and I'd like to thank Namita Madam for helping me and coming up with this presentation. Otherwise, I think I won't be able to present today. Thank you, ma'am.
Next, we have Sanskar, a student of Amity School of Economics, who will be presenting his paper on a study and awareness and uses of payment banks among college students and Delhi NCR.
So good afternoon, session chairs and one and all present here. I'm going to present my presentation on the research paper that I did on the topic, a study on the awareness and the usage of payment banks amongst college students in Delhi NCR. So for the introduction, there's a tremendous change in the Indian banking sector due to digitalization. In the recent times, with the advent of internet and digitalization, several alternatives have popped up, and we are moving towards digital economy. It may be defined as a situation wherein all transactions are through electronic means and flow of physical cash is negligible. This is not just limited to apps, but also the change in organization structure, also provision of services that goes beyond the traditional facilities. It ensures the services are made easy and accessible in real time. Cash is being replaced by various instruments like banking cards, smart cards, internet, and mobile banking usage of digital wallets. To fulfill the objectives of financial inclusion, the role of payment banks is vital. There is a need to know whether payment banks have reached all sections of the people, to make India a digital and a cashless economy. A complete and detailed knowledge of banking services is necessary for the general public. Hence, this study is made to study the awareness of usage of payment banks amongst the college students in Delhi NCR. So the objective of this study is to understand the concept of payment banks, to check the awareness of payment banks amongst the college students in Delhi NCR, to know the demographic variables has an influence on awareness and usage of payment banks amongst college students in Delhi NCR, to identify the most frequently used payment bank amongst college students in Delhi NCR, to identify the reasons for using payment banks, to identify the expectations on the services of payment banks. The methodology that I used was for data collection. The data is collected using structured questionnaire method and surveys, and the secondary data was collected from existing data sources, catalogs, internet, books, newspapers, magazines, and journals. The population consists of college students studying different disciplines are taken for the research work. The sampling size and sampling method. The stratified sampling is used for carrying out the research work. A sample of 200 respondents were studied, gathering the demographic variables such as age, gender, education, place of stay, parents' occupation, etc. The findings that I found during my research, that the majority of respondents surveyed in this study were were greater than 19 years of age. The majority of respondents, say 71.5% surveyed, are from urban population. Majority of respondents, say 32%, are using payment banks recently since 2018. It clearly shows their awareness and usage is of recent times. It is also understood that a majority of respondents, say 51%, say there is no risk in using payment banks. Only 4% disagreed that payment bank will lead to India to a digital economy. Majority of them, say 46.5%, said smartphone act as a solution for e-commerce industry to use online payment, and only 9% said no. Majority of respondents say 39% considered convenience is the main reason to use payment banks. Majority of respondents say 91.2% agreed that government should create more awareness about the usage of payment banks. 45% were satisfied using the payment banks, and only 1% were dissatisfied. Perception on digital and cashless economy do not differ significantly across the demographic variables. There is a significant relationship between demographic variables and satisfaction on payment banking. So to conclude, payment bank have been introduced with the primary objective of increasing the impact of financial inclusion drive. The payment bank play a significant role in implementing government's direct benefit transfer schemes, where subsidies on healthcare, education, gas are paid directly to beneficiaries' account. However, the competition between the traditional and payment bank will lead to widening and improvement in quality of banking services are reduced, and which may finally lead results in financial inclusion. There are millions of Indians do not have access to banking facilities. They cannot avail state advantages, loans, insurance, and even interest on savings. M-Banking, IPBB, PMJDY can reach the unbanked and also underneath banked across all sections of society and geographies. Thus, payment bank guarantees a game changer thanks to exploitation by the mobile platform to provide basic banking transactions through mobile phones. The choice of license a number of countries' biggest company and mobile telecommunication corporations to start our payment bank guarantees to be an identical game changer in India. Thank you so much. That's it.
Thank you, Sanskar. Next, we have Priyanshi Sharma, a student of Amity School of Economics, who will be presenting her paper on analysis of organic food products, perception of working women in Delhi NCR.
Good afternoon, everyone. The topic for my dissertation is an analysis of organic food products, perception of working women of Delhi NCR. Now, natural farming, or simply to state organic farming, is nothing but just an antiquated practice of agribusiness which has been given to us by our ancestors. Any food product that can be termed as organic only when it is free from toxic pesticides, chemical fertilizers, or genetically modified organisms, and it follows organic farming standards in respect to concerns for oil, water, and air. These considerations for environment and awareness on self-health has resulted in the increase of food produced organically in India. Organic food products market has shown a massive growth since the 1990s. Demand for food products grown organically has shown immense increase in the global market. Approximately 162 countries are practicing organic farming as of now. Now, coming to why I chose India as my field of study. India has high demand for organic food growing on compound growth rate of 25% annually. Coming to the objectives of my study, the first one is to examine the factors affecting the potential demand for organic food products. From the data collected, factors affecting organic food products in India were identified as awareness on health, paying capacity, increased income, and willingness to pay towards a healthy life also plays a major role affecting the demand of organically produced food products in India. Education and awareness and concern for environment. Coming to the sampling and data collection. In order to identify factors affecting the demand for organic food products, primary data was collected from about 150 respondents. Data collection was implemented with the help of a structured questionnaire of over 150 respondents, and my target audience was the working women of private universities of Delhi NCR. The type of method used to collect primary data was convenient sampling. primary data was collected again around the 150 features. Coming to the analysis. Analysis covered general information about organic food products and the opinion of the respondents with respect to awareness regarding organic food products. I used SPSS software to analyze my data, and from that, from the first table, it can be seen that around 50% respondents agreed using organic food products, and more than 80% respondents considered that organic food was safe. Considering the second table, it makes a clear display that majority of respondents agree that they are well aware about organic food products, and the respondents agree that they do not buy organic food as they find them expensive. Sorry. Coming to the third table, the above table shows that trend in purchase of organic food. It can be depicted that 49% of respondents buy organic vegetable at least once a week. But again, it's just about the rich class of the population that agrees to buy and are satisfied with the pricing of the organic food products. These were my findings, and now I would like to conclude my paper. India is emerging as a strong market for organic food products. By 2023, India is expected to be self-reliant in producing chemical-free food products, that is organic food. It will also emerge as a massive exporter of organic food in global market. Personal factors play a major role in predicting consumption pattern of consumer in India. Indian consumers prefer organic food as they consider it safe. Using environmentally sustainable is also identified as factor that drive customers towards organic procedure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Priyanshi. Next, we have Khushi Paliwal with us, who will be presenting her paper. Khushi, are you here?
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay.
Khushi, you may start.
Okay. So good evening, everyone. The topic for my dissertation was impact of climate change on Indian agriculture. Can you change the slide, please? Indian agriculture remains vulnerable to the vagaries of weather, and the looming threat of climate change may possess this vulnerability further. A small but growing literature has focused on estimating the impact of weather and climate change on economic performance. The analysis of impact of climate change on agriculture in India is an important exercise as it deals with food securities of more than 1 billion people. In India, with its significant influence on the economy, agriculture still plays a vital role. Climate and agriculture are intensely interconnected with global processes. Even a small change in climate affects agriculture adversely, decreasing the production rate. Climate change effect through global warming phenomena increases the average atmospheric temperature, which has become a mega trend, changing the global future significantly. Can you please change the slide? So the objectives for my presentation was: first, analyzing the impact of climate change on agriculture. Second, policy responses to climate change. Next slide. Research methodology. The study is based on secondary data that has been collected from government sites such as World Bank, IPCC, which is Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, Department of Agriculture, and some research papers. Next slide. Talking about the sectoral impacts of climate change, first, I would like to talk about crops. Expansion in encompassing CO2 is valuable since this prompt expanded photosynthesis in a few harvests, particularly crops, with C3 system of photosynthesis like wheat and rice, and diminished evaporative misfortunes. Not with understanding this, the yields of significant grain crops, particularly like wheat, is probably going to be diminished because of abatement in crop development term, expanded breadth and or decrease in precipitation, water system, water supplies because of climatic temperature. Next, talking about the soil, reduced amount and nature of natural matter substance, which is as of now very low in Indian soil. Under raised CO2 focus, crop deposits have higher C is to N proportion, which might diminish their pace of decay and supplement supply. Increase of soil temperature will expand mineralization. However, its accessibility might diminish due to expanded vaporous misfortunes through cycles like volatilization and denitrification. Nextly, talking about livestock, climate change and articulated impact on feed creation and sustenance of animals. Expanded temperature brings about improved lignification of plant tissues and decreased absorbability. Expanded water shortage would likewise diminish food and grain creation. Lastly, talking about fishery, the impact on fishery, increasing sea and river water temperature is likely to affect fish breeding, migration, and harvest. Impact of increased temperature and tropical cyclonic activity would affect the capture, production, and marketing costs of the marine fish. Next slide. The annual and seasonal rainfall trend of India was analyzed. The annual mean, minimum, and maximum rainfall had of 1,176.32, 947.1, and 1,463.9 millimeter respectively. A negative trend was observed in negative trends was noticed in seasons. However, it did not show statistical significance at 5%. Next slide. The policies which were adopted for climate change were: India perceives that for guaranteeing country's food security, both in the short and long haul, and making practical and environmental tough, so suitable transformation procedures need to be created. The nation had started opportune activity to resolve the issues of environmental change. These endeavors have given important contributions to terms of the local and public level effect of environment inconsistency and environmental change of significant food harvest, cultivation, and domesticated animals creation. One of the examples of the policies which has been adopted was National Mission on Sustainable Agriculture, NMSA. The mission was organized under the Public Action Plan on Climate Change and made functional during 2014 and 15. It pointed to synergize asset protection, upgrading of restabilizing the dirt fruitfulness, consequently moving along usefulness with center around soil well-being, the executives, integrated farming framework, coordinated creature part and water use efficiency, explicitly in drylands or rain-fed horticulture regions. Next slide. Concluding my presentation, global climate change is not a new phenomenon. The effect of climate change possesses many threats. One of the most important consequences is bringing about changes in the quality and quantity of water resources and crop productivity. It can be concluded that the Indian region is highly sensitive to climate change. Agriculture sector is the most prone sector as it will have a direct bearing on the living of 1.2 billion people. India has a set target of having greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. There is an urgent need for coordinated efforts to strengthen the research to access the impact of climate change on agriculture, forests, animal husbandry, aquatic life, and other living beings. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Khushi. Now we'll be having a few videos by our sponsors. Next, we have Rinkle Gupta, a student of Amity School of Economics, who will be presenting her paper. Rinkle, are you here?
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Am I audible, Janvi?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay.
Rinkle, you can start. Rinkle, you may start. Rinkle, am I audible to you?
Yeah, you are audible. Just a second. So the topic of my presentation, just a second. So the topic of my presentation is consumer behavior towards online grocery shopping. Change the slide.
Rinkle, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but can you please turn your camera on?
Is on. Am I not visible to you?
I'm unable to see you.
I think there is some connection issue. I have switched it on.
Okay, no issues. You may continue.
Okay, so change the slide. So the introduction, Internet and information technology have made tremendous contribution for business transformation witnessed nowadays all over the world. This has given birth to e-commerce, which encompasses several pre-purchase and post-purchase activities, leading to exchange of products or services over electronic system through internet. Online grocery has provided a better way for people to make groceries, as it allows customers to buy fresh and packaged food delivered to our doorstep. Online grocery shopping will be the next popular sector in the electronic commerce. The growth of online groceries have exponential growth of 15% in the last 2 years because of the COVID situation. Some reports discovered that 26% of the online customers are more willing to buy fresh groceries online. Change the slide. Objectives of the study are: this study attempt to determine the impact of advertising on consumer buying behaviors. In specific terms, the objective of the study are to study the attitude of consumer towards online shopping, to find out consumer behavior regarding the attributes of online shopping websites, to determine the pattern of consumer in a particular shopping center for the purchase of grocery items, and to identify issues faced by the consumers while online shopping and their benefit factors. Change the slide.
Rinkle, you're not audible to us. Can you please turn your camera off so that we could get a better connection?
there is a connection issue from my side. So the research methodology, the data for the research has been taken from both the primary and secondary sources. For the primary data, a questionnaire was circulated to derive results and analyze the consumer behavior. The questions were mainly designed to get an insight on the consumer perception and their opinion on online grocery stores and its sustainability. The questionnaire consisted of 11 questions. The research also included data, secondary data from renowned magazines, journals, and websites. The purpose of this was to identify the trends in the media market, demographic structure, and also to get the data that assists us in the research work. Change the slide, please. So the major findings of my dissertation topic is, through online grocery services are available in most of the cities, it lacks approach in the rural areas. This means that there is still a large audience that is not being targeted by the industry. People have started to adopt a new way of buying groceries. However, a large chunk still believes in the traditional method of buying groceries. Before the pandemic, the percentage of buying groceries online quite low. Pandemic gave the online grocery service a boost. From the survey, it seems that people are quite happy with the services, as well as they would like to continue buy groceries online even after the pandemic ends. Among many other factors, the one that attract the consumer the most to do the shopping online are availability of large variety of products, time saving and discount offered, no guarantee of the quality of product, and the lack of physical examination are two things that the customers see as the hindrance in the online grocery shopping. Next slide. Recommendation and conclusions. Consumer behavior is a very important aspect of any sector. What we are facing with each passing year is that new business models based on changing consumer preferences are coming up with online business model being on the rise. This is attributable to our lifestyle pattern that is changing every day. The future of India's online grocery sector looks promising, even given its drawbacks that are being continuously overcome by current participation, which is an opportunity to make significant profits. The existing online market for F&G is in its infancy and is growing with more opportunities. The lockdown has had some effect on the entire country and also on the entire world, as a result of which Indians are ordering online now more than ever. The pandemic has led to a manifold increase in the sales of online grocery industry, but one of the biggest challenges that the industry faces is thin margin of profits. The current pandemic situation has led to people resort to online grocery shopping and instilled confidence among the consumers to undertake online grocery shopping. It is a stepping stone to the future of online grocery in India. It is, however, necessary to study the Indian market after the situation has normalized. Please change. These are the references, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Rinkle. Now, I would like to invite our last participant, Ms. Vidhi Jain, to present her paper. Vidhi, are you here with us?
Yes, I am here.
I'm sorry, but you're not visible to us.
Am I now visible to you?
Yes, you are.
So, good evening, everyone. So, my topic of dissertation is digitization in healthcare sector due to COVID-19. Can you change the slide? Janvi, can you change the slide?
It's changed. Can you see it?
Okay. Yeah, now. In COVID-19 time, the healthcare sector need more financial and other resources for covering all the necessary medical products and services. On the other hand, we have observed the pressure on the effectiveness and optimal utilization of resources in the hospital and healthcare sector. Digitization represents an important source of information for the various level of management in hospitals. The main aim of our research is the identification of the benefits of digitization of health care sector and medical devices in hospitals, used advanced medical devices used due to COVID. So in COVID-19 times, the healthcare sector needs more financial and other resources for converting all the necessary medical produce and services. On the other hand, we have observed pressure on the effective and optimal utilization of resources in the hospitals. All the resources should be optimized, employees, medical products, medical services, rooms, capacity. For such optimization, the decision making, the managers need suitable data resources and as well as more data inputs. Therefore, digitization in hospitals can represent an important source of information for management. Can you move to next slide? So objective of my study, main objectives, due to COVID situation, we have chalked down a way to provide service without coming in touch with any individual. The study of digitization in healthcare sector has a main objective to compare the online sales of pharma companies which are selling their goods like medicines and services online, or doctors which are like consulting their patients online mode. So we are comparing that online sales from pre-COVID and post-COVID situations. Second objective is to online consulting of patients in online mode due to COVID. Besides, digitization also includes a pre and post effect of COVID in healthcare sector particularly. Can you move to next slide? Research methodology which I have used, the data from for which I have taken from both primary and secondary sources. For primary data, a questionnaire was circulated to drive result and analyze patient behavior towards online interaction with doctors and how they are taking online consulting and prescriptions from doctor, from their personal doctors, or like from researching doctors from online. The purpose of the questionnaire was to identify on the personal level comfort of patient with doctor through online mode of consultancy in COVID situation. The research also includes secondary data from renowned pharma companies, journals, and websites. The purpose of this way to identify the trends of online sales of medical goods pre and post COVID. The tools of analysis, data analysis in both primary and secondary method includes pie chart, columns, linear graphs, and models, regression models, etc. Can you move to next slide? So there is my main finding and research hypothesis and analysis. So here we have digitization in one of the key tool of modern management. All its except now face the challenge of post-COVID-19 period. The process of digitization is very important in the development of customization, flexibility, acceleration of process. So here we have selected some hospitals of particular area where we have shown the year-wise or monthly growth of equipments, like more digitization equipments, how they have growing due to COVID waves. Like if we can see in end of 2019, we had a peak of COVID-19. So the use of the medical production and advancement in that area have increased rapidly. Then it has slowed down due to the COVID waves have slowed down. So the components of healthcare management, generally digital transformation related to various fields of economics entires, includes hospitals and healthcare facilities. Can you move to the next slide? So here is my main finding. This is a cost structure basically, which I'll be explaining. Am I audible?
Yes, Vidya, audible.
Okay. So here we have, it is not necessary to identify more to calculate possibly benefits of costs of digitization of medical devices in hospitals. In the previous, the result of the correlation and regression analysis shows us that COVID-19's influenced the distribution of processes and equipments and facilities used in hospitals. It is connected both with the economic and financial aspect of the management. However, COVID-19 is only example possible changes in the progress of facility provided by hospitals. It is necessary for all managers to have an upgradation information of their decision making. It should be underlined that cost benefit analysis of digitalization of medical devices in hospitals is connected with the various periods. We should distinguish between short-term and long-term cost benefits. Regarding the phase of implementation of digitization and new software in hospitals, it is clear that we have a cost connected with the system infrastructure, system applications, office administration, scanning of papers, cost connected with the documents, technical supports, and training of management and employees. Can you move to the next slide?
Please change the slide.
Okay. Generally, COVID-19 has been a huge acceleration for R&D and information optimization and new ideas. Technically and healthcare equipments facilities plays a significant role in healthcare services. Therefore, effective facilities management can contribute to improve the healthcare. The main aim of our research was to identify the benefits of digitalization in healthcare sector, basically, like how digitalization is pushing healthcare sector towards another level, towards how can we deal with the COVID-19 crisis. Focusing on our case study, like our methodology of approaching include a literature review, data analysis, correlation analysis, a regression analysis. The case study was presented the change of equipment facilities used in 2019 and 2020 in the selective hospitals, and the impact of COVID-19 on the use of the resources, management and financial issues were discussed. Based on the result, COVID-19 influenced both the distribution of resources and the facility management in hospitals. Economic benefits are represented mainly by various kind of savings and optimizations of both processes and employees. It is clear that this digitizations represent an important source of information for management in hospitals. Based on the representation research, we can recommend digitization as a suitable tool for management and headquarters in hospitals. They can easily observe all the process and persons and optimize the healthcare services provided. Can you move forward?
Change, Vidhi. Is it visible to you?
Yeah, this was my reference from which I have referred my research paper. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vidhi. So that is how we conclude our presentations. Now we would open this session for question answer round. Sonia ma'am, Sheenu ma'am, do you have any questions for any of the participants? And if any of the participants have any questions, they can just write them in the chat box. Sheenu ma'am, do you have any questions?
Not as such, no questions as such, but I would like to appreciate because there were many students who have presented their papers. So that is really good to see that students have worked upon papers independently, and they have they have shown confidence to come up to the conference and present their ideas. So that is really appreciable.
Thank you, ma'am. Sonia, ma'am, do you have any questions?
Yeah, again, just give me 1 second.
Sure.
Yeah. Sorry, we are working into different time zones, so the things are a little different over here. Okay, so first thing, I have heard many. No doubt the students have worked very good and some papers were very good. Some suggestions from my side, because I normally do a critical review. One of the thing is many students are reading their the presentations, so please try to avoid it. This is your initial stages, so please try to avoid the paper reading thoroughly. Number one. Number two, there were too many things written on one slide. So presentation should be nice enough that anyone can see it. Don't put so many things on one slide. So put only the basic 40%, like only 20 to 30% what you want to speak should be on your slides. So rest you should speak from your side. Eye contact is very important. Yes, we are on the online system, so sometimes it's not possible, but try to have more and more of the eye contact. That is one important thing. And obviously try to, I really don't know if these papers are going to get published into some ISBN number or some journals and all. Try to get them published, which is again very important thing. So these are my, some recommendations, especially for the student side. But yes, some papers were very nice. And I was really amazed to see there was some paper from Bhutan also. There was a paper from Uganda also. The work are different, and we come to know, how different countries are doing differently, especially the e-bike paper. I think it was from Uganda, and there was a paper on from the Bhutan also about the employability of the youth. And same work we can do over in India also. That was a very good paper, and we can compare both the countries. So it gives a lot of insight about different research topics. So that's the thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, our session guests, Dr. Sonia Singh and Dr. Sheenu Vig ma'am, for accepting our invitation and taking out their valuable time from their busy schedule. It was great listening to you, ma'am, for your valuable input. This event could not have been possible without the constant support, guidance, and blessings of our founder president, Sir, Mr. Atul Chauhan, and Vice Chancellor, ma'am, Dr. Balwinder Shukla. A special note of thanks to the organizing committee of the 5th International Virtual Conference on Sustainable Development, Harnessing Innovation, Technology, and Society 5.0. Thank you, Dr. Kavita ma'am, Neeru ma'am, and Namita ma'am for this event, and it could not have been possible without you. Thank you to all the participants and audience. We are thankful and grateful for you, and thank you for listening to us. Lastly, thank you to the IT team, whom this event could have generally not have been possible. Thank you so much, everyone. This is Janvi Kathuria signing off.
Can I close the session? Can I close?
No.
I request you all to stay. We'll be presenting our videos from our sponsors.
चालू